Okay, now in the TaleSpring environment, I'm going to show you how to do a multi-image animation. So I've got a page here, and I'm just going to work with a blank page this time. I'll go up to my Media Center, and I'm going to come down here. I've created 3 images that I'm going to work with. Let me see if I can find them here quickly. Right here is these 3 captains. Now, what I've done is in Photoshop or something similar, I've gone in and created with my Illustrator an image that has one moving element. In this case, it's his arm with the cutlass. Each of these images are exactly the same size with the body positioned exactly at the same spot so that only the arm is moving in each of these images. Now I'm going to move these into my page, and I want to do this just to save some time for later. I want to move it so that I've got them in layers, and that my top layer is going to be the one that is viewable at the start of my animation. So I want that to be this the one where the sword or the cutlass that was up at the top. So I will put my lowest layer on the page first. So I grab this one and bring him in here. I'm going to move him up there. I grab the middle one and put him here, and then grab my top layer. And as I put him on last, he then goes on to the top layer. I'll move that window out of the way so you can see what we've got now. We have 3 images. Each of them have a different position for the cutlass and the arm, but the rest of the body is exactly the same, and the full image size is exactly the same for all of these. The advantage of doing that and having it pre-built is that then I can basically position these exactly over each other, and they will blend together perfectly, and you won't be able to tell that there are multiple images on this in this. So I'm going to show you how to position those just right here in a moment, but I want to point something out as well. Once I've got my images in here, I can actually resize them all, and because they're all exactly the same size, I can just use the numbers over here to make them all exactly the same. So for instance, we'll reduce this down to 500, and I get a smaller captain there, and I can just go do that same thing with all of them. So resizing is not a problem as long as you're taking notes and remaining consistent with the numbers that you're using. I'm going to leave them all separate here so you can see what I'm going to do next. What I want to do now is animate these so that they appear and disappear in a sequence, and all you see is the arm moving, and it will then look like an animation. So I've got my 3 images here, and I'm going to start with this top image. And when I click on that image, I want it to disappear and for the middle image to appear. So let's start an animation process now. I'll click on this top image. I'll go over to my animate button, and I want him to disappear. That's the first action. Then we move to the next guy, and I want this one to appear, remain for just a second, and then disappear. And then now I go to my third one, and I want the same thing. I want him to appear for just a second, and then to disappear. And right now in this sequence, I'm just worried about whether or not they're appearing or disappearing. So I've got this last one now disappearing, and as he disappears, I need this one to appear again. So now I'm going to work my way back up. So I've got them kind of flowing down as they disappear, appear, disappear, appear, disappear, and then back to the middle again with appear, and now I need them to disappear. And you can watch my animation timeline growing here on the side as I add these. So I've got this middle one now disappearing, and I need the top one to reappear. So now we have one full sequence where they go all the way down and all the way back up, and I'll go down and back up one more time. So I've got this one appearing. I need this one now to disappear again, and I'll just go back to this middle one and have him appear and then disappear. And I'll go to this third one. We want him to appear, disappear, and now back up again. So the middle guy is now going to appear, and then disappear. And then finally back to our original pirate, and we'll have him appear as the final step in the process. So now I have all my animations laid out. Now we need to go to the animation timeline and make some adjustments. On this first one, we want this action to happen on a click. And because this is a disappear animation, I need this to delay just for a second, not quite a second actually. So we're going to go 200 milliseconds. And I'm actually just going to copy that into my computer clipboard here. And as we move down now, I'm going to make all of the disappear animations delay their start for 200 milliseconds. We'll go to this appear. The next one, I want this to happen after the previous animation, and I don't want any delay on my appears. You want these to appear very quickly so that you don't see a blank spot in between. But I do want my disappears to pause for just a second so the action can be visible. Otherwise it happens so quickly you don't even see anything happening. So all of my disappears are going to pause for 200, and I need these to happen after previous. So I'll just work my way down all of the animations, and on my appear animations I'll remove the start, mark them as after previous, so that all of these are happening in a sequence after previous. And again, all my disappears are going to happen 200 milliseconds later. And all of my appears, no delay. So a lot of this just takes a little bit of time. There's a disappear, so that's got a delay. Here's an appear, so this is going to have no delay. My disappear, short delay. And then my final appear, bringing my final Captain Pirate back with no delay. So now I've got everything in sequence. Let's do a page preview, and I'll show you what this is looking like right now with the pirates separate. So when the page comes active, you'll see that we only have the top pirate showing right now because he's the only one that hasn't, or that doesn't have an animation that is an appear. So if I click on him, you'll see that the others are now appearing in a sequence, and as it climbs up the page, you're seeing the cutlass drop, and so I can see quickly here that my animation is in good form, and I'm ready to synchronize these guys together. So what I'll do is I would normally maybe position my lowest layer right about where I want it, and I'm going to see that my position, let's just make that easy and say my position is 80 and 190, and I'll lock that in place so I don't mess it up by accidentally grabbing it. And I'll go right down the line here and go the same numbers, 80, 190, and lock it. And then my final one here, I'll go 80 to 190 and lock it in place. And you can see now that they are all exactly on top of each other, and you can see where the difference is in the cutlass out here. And let's do another page preview and see how this looks while they're all together. So I've got my captain, he's got his sword raised, and if I click on him, his animation looks very smooth, and I can add additional sequences to that to make that last longer or shorter, or I can even go in and adjust the delay time just a little bit if you want that animation to be just a little bit different in terms of its timing. So I'll escape back out of there. All I would have to do at this point is come in and find an appropriate background and add some other graphics. I'll just let me see if I can find a background really quick to drop in here. And I'll show you what I would typically do. If I drop a background in here, it's going to end up over the top of the pirate, but I can go to transform and I can send that background to the back. And while it's selected, I've got mine pre-configured so that I can just Put that to the left and top at 0 and lock it in place. I've got my captain there on the beach, and I can preview the page again. And my animation is there. He's on the beach, and I can click on him, and you can see a fairly smooth animation just with 3 images all in sequence to appear and disappear in order. And that's how we do a multi-image animation in TaleSpring.